The space around Marcus was engulfed in fire. In his vision, the world was painted in scarlet tones. Tongues of flame danced across his body like serpents. The temperature of the surrounding space heated up to such a degree that it seemed as if the spirit of fire itself had descended into this world. Suddenly, he felt a fluctuation in the air behind him, and from above came the familiar prickling of holy power emanations. In this form, his perception of the world around him was amplified several times over. His senses were sharpened to such an extent that detecting energy fluctuations of any strength, no matter how small, within a radius of up to 100 meters was no trouble for him. Moreover, this applied not only to energies, but even to vibrations of the earth or air. He could catch absolutely any movement. And not just that. Flash! A sea of flame surged into the air, and in the next instant, two huge fire shields formed beside him. Bam! Boom! Two deafening explosions rang out. The sea of flame was scattered to the sides by the shockwave, turning the surroundings within a 50-meter radius into charred remains. However, the fire shields continued to hover. The shields behind him took the heavy blow of the giant in dark armor, and the shield above met the light attack. Marcus involuntarily frowned, feeling the shield above him cracking. However, he was more worried about the other, more troublesome opponent in his opinion. Because although the shield behind him withstood the blow, the energy was gradually draining away, and the speed was incredible. A few more moments and it would have dissipated completely. What a troublesome ability! However, those few moments were more than enough. With a new burst of flame, his figure vanished and, wrapped in tongues of fire, appeared as if out of thin air to the left of the giant. Maybe you are strong, possess the ability to hide your presence, and even somehow drain an opponent of their strength, but that still won't help you. A sword, seemingly made of plasma itself, slashed across the giant's armor. Hiss! A hissing sound of melting armor rang out, and clouds of steam rose into the air. A scarlet streak appeared on the dark armor, leaving behind edges of molten metal. But before he could follow through with the strike aimed straight at the opponent's heart, his danger sense howled again at a threat from above. This time it was so strong that goosebumps ran down his spine. Boom! A deafening explosion struck the sea of flame, dissipating the tongues of fire. Marcus's figure melted into the air along with them. However, a moment later he appeared 50 meters from the epicenter of the explosion, directly beneath the hovering figure of the culprit. Sword swing. Air converted into a clot of low-temperature plasma shot up. Boom! The sea of fire completely hid the hovering figure. Marcus lowered his sword. He felt slight resistance within the element, but a couple of moments later it dissipated without a trace. How foolish! To attack your own comrade along with me. He looked with a squint at the epicenter of the explosion. A logical outcome. Ouch! Marcus involuntarily grimaced, feeling a burning sensation in his shoulder. Truly a monster. In this form, he was invulnerable to physical attacks and most magic, but she still managed to graze him. What insane light power! Marcus was sure the giant hadn't survived, as the recent attack was of such force that even he himself, having fully dodged, received damage. As for the girl, not even ash should have remained. At such a temperature, everything within a 10-meter radius of the attack's epicenter turned to dust. Right. Okay, how is the young master? But he didn't have time to finish, as boom! A new deafening explosion rang out. Emanations of light power coming from the side prickled his skin, even in this form. What? Is there really someone else of such a level here? But he just froze, never finishing the thought, because before his eyes, sprawled out in an awkward pose, lay the young master, his entire body terribly burned, and his face symmetrically decorated with a second scar. Freed POV. Boom! An explosion thundered, and a huge cloud of dust rose into the air. The RPG shot landed right on the two bastards on course. Ah, there it is. The smell of ash, the maddening roar of battle, and the stench of fucking demonic spawn that need to be chopped into pieces. This is it. The battlefields. This is it. What I've been missing all this time. Ha 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 ha! The laughter of the Holy Father rang out through the district, enjoying the symphony of battle. Throwing the RPG launcher aside, he snatched a pair of daggers and rushed after the giant in armor. Boom! As soon as they flew into the dust cloud raised by the shot, a terrible crash rang out, as if something had been hit with the force of a multi-ton battering ram. Obviously, it was a barrier of demonic energy meeting the fist of his new comrade. However, crack! In the next second, it shattered into fragments, and the giant disappeared into the dust cloud. Huh, tore it like paper, holy shit. Yeah, she really has capable fighters. This Yoshi had a very rare type of sacred gear, energy absorption, and those aren't its only properties. Oh well, time to have fun. The Holy Father immediately rushed in after, and led by the smell of the creatures he hated, lunged at the figure in front of him. This someone tried to block his lunge. However, whether from surprise or something else, the demonic energy in his hands didn't have time to form for full protection, so the dagger in the Holy Father's hands, shining with golden light, stitched through the fragile barrier like paper and plunged into the figure's shoulder. Ah! The hysterical howl of a slaughtered demonic pig rang out immediately, and the figure abruptly jumped to the side, flying out of the dust cloud. Not losing a second, Freed rushed after him. Ah! Damn it! What the hell? Where the fuck? A young guy in green clothes was clutching a bleeding wound on his shoulder. The dagger was still stuck in it, and black smoke was pouring out of the wound. Seeing this picture, a satisfied smirk spread across Freed's face, and his tongue excitedly ran over his lips. Well, did you get a kick out of that, you bastard? Ha ha ha. Believe me, this is just the appetizer. Very soon you'll feel so good you'll want to go to the next world, because this daddy is going to carve you into a salad. Ha 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 ha. The Holy Father's eyes resembled a junkie high on drugs. What? What the hell? Free! Where the fuck did you come from? Theodora's eyes widened in shock. Huh, that shouldn't worry you, you piece of fucking trash. Playing with a dagger in his hand, Freed slowly approached him. Even though the opponent was wounded, how could Freed underestimate him? He was perfectly aware of the difference in strength and therefore didn't rush. All you need to know is that this daddy is going to slaughter you like a pig. Theodora's face twisted in a grimace of pain as soon as his hand grabbed the handle of the dagger. Smoke also poured out from under it, causing his face to contort even more. But just a second later, the dagger came out of the wound, and he squeamishly threw it aside. Looking at Freed again, he just sneered mockingly. Freed, you bastard. Did you forget who you're dealing with? Looks like it's worth reminding you of your place, you piece of shit. Theodora began to concentrate demonic energy in his hands. Noticing this, Freed immediately rushed toward him, aiming exactly for the throat. However, when the dagger had almost reached its target, it stopped suddenly. Theodora's hand, glowing with red light, grabbed the dagger right by the blade, and his face stretched to a mocking smirk. Tch, bastard. He managed to stabilize his energy after all, and is already capable of blocking this level of holy power. Just as Freed thought this, he felt as if he'd been hit in the stomach with a sledgehammer. Flying back 10 meters and carving a 10-meter furrow in the ground, the Holy Father finally stopped. The glow of the blue barrier on his body began to gradually fade.
What a fucking degenerate, Freed cursed to himself, getting to his feet. It won't be that simple after all. As expected, this bastard is strong. If not for the protective barrier of my new little boss, I wouldn't have gotten off so easily. All right, I need to remind you, in case you forgot. Theodora's face twisted into a sneer again. Will the mad dog bite its master again? Clenching his teeth in anger, Fried spun the dagger in his hand. Okay, so we'll act differently. In a direct clash, I'm unlikely to last more than a couple of blows, even with the little boss's protection. First, I need to piss him off a bit. All our past agreements aren't worth shit anymore, face. Always dreamed of embellishing your face a little. You know the decoration my new little boss left you suits you very well. A mocking smirk stretched across the Holy Father's face. What? You scum. That's it. I've had enough of you. I thought we could come to an agreement, but if you don't want to do it the easy way, I'll gladly send you to your former boss. With a wave of his hand, bullets of demonic energy rushed at Fried, but he was ready for such a turn and had already shifted from the attack trajectory the moment Diodora just waved his hand. Boom, boom, boom. A series of explosions rang out to the left, throwing clumps of earth into the air. But Fried paid no attention to this. He was fully focused on the 2 bullets still flying at him. Although this Holy Father was a modified human, he was unable to compete in speed with a high-ranking demon, let alone face a direct attack of demonic energy of such a level. However, Fried knew this and was ready for such an outcome. His left hand tightly gripped the dagger, which flared up with light energy. The blade rushed straight at one of the energy clots. Power emanated from it that would instantly turn him into mincemeat, and even with an enchanted weapon, it wouldn't be possible to deflect it completely. The Holy Father understood this perfectly well, too. Gritting his teeth hard, Fried concentrated, and a stream of his own internal energy poured into the blade, amplifying the radiance of light several times over. The blade of light cleaved the charge of demonic energy, and it dissipated in the air. However, he didn't block the last shot. Boom! The blast wave of the exploding demonic energy projectile threw the Holy Father back a couple of dozen meters, and only after plowing a small path with his face did he finally stop. Blood appeared from his mouth, and he spat several clots onto the ground. Crack! The barrier enveloping him shattered into shards. As expected, it couldn't withstand even one direct hit. Diodora, looking at his pitiful state, couldn't hide his smile, already preparing a new charge of demonic energy. That's it, Fried. I don't know what connects you to that little bitch, but by standing against me, you're a dead man. If you're going to blame someone, blame that little trash. So alas, but it is you going to the next world. His palm, colored with scarlet radiance, was already aimed in his direction. But Fried's face only twisted in a grin looking at him. Look under your feet. A wheeze escaped his throat. Want to say something in parting? I said, cough, cough. He coughed up blood again and was finally able to continue. Look under your feet. A sadistic smirk stretched across his face as soon as he extended his right hand forward, demonstrating it to Diodora. His fingers were decorated with 5 unusual metal rings. Seeing these strange decorations, Diodora's face suddenly twisted into a very ugly grimace, and looking down, 5 metal spheres of a very familiar shape to him, ever since that memorable night, caught his eye. Fried, you scum! Boom, boom, boom! A defeating explosion rang out through the district, while the Holy Father, blissfully closing his eyes, waved his hands like the conductor of a symphony orchestra. In his mind, he heard an indescribable melody known only to him.